What's up, YouTube? This week, we're back with another podcast. We're going to talk about V Rising, Uncharted, and should you be buying audio quality headphones for gaming? Let's get into it.
All right, what's going on, everyone? We are back for episode number 20. So
20.
big milestone for us. Super excited about it. If first time here, please drop a like. Really helps. Subscribe. We do this every single week. So enough pimping the channel. So let's get right into it. We got V Rising. I've been following this game for quite a long time. I know Dan just got...
I haven't.
Yeah,
I literally just saw a review the day before early access started, and then we talked about it like the same day. We're like, dude, check this out. Dude, yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, it's I've been following it for probably about 9 months or so. Been keeping a little track of the development. So,
haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, it's one of those games where it's kind of a... it kind of blew up just like Valheim did, or a few of those other games. I think a lot of streamers are going to get a hold of this one and run with it. So we just wanted to talk a little bit about our first-hand experience. I've got about 25 hours in or so. I think Dan's at like, what are you at, 10, 15 maybe? 100 hours.
Just kidding. I let it run for like half a day the first day. So I was like, dude, you got like 10, 15 hours in the game? I was like, no, not that much.
Let my PC run. So how many do you actually think you have? Probably about 10 hours, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say right around there.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah, definitely less than you, but
yeah, a little addicted,
not like an insignificant amount.
Right. So first things first, discuss what the game actually is. It's a very unique game. You got certain games that are survival, certain games that are crafting, certain games that are action RPG, and this kind of just rolls it all into one. So easiest way I've described it to people in any conversation, take a top-down action RPG like Diablo, combine that with a game like Valheim, and then combine that game with a game like Minecraft. So it's a crafting, survival, action RPG, and the RPG mechanics are kind of sprinkled in there. They're not really relevant. It's not like you have, attack level 1, 2, 3, an overall level, but you do have certain spells. You have certain weapons you can use that do different things. That's just a little bit of RPG mechanics, but the main focus is the survival and the crafting in it, which I love. I'm very hooked on this, and I think the coolest thing about it that I like, your main goal is to essentially you just woke up, and you're a vampire who just woke up, and you need to get back out into the wild and start your castle, build your castle, and kind of build your realm how you want it. So obviously with that crafting's up front. But you'll be crafting your castle, and it's like, oh, you need to get or build this next. There's a little bit of a quest line, not super lore heavy, but a little bit of a quest line. And I'll be like, oh, you need to build this, and then you look at the materials needed for that, and to get those materials, then you have to go kill a certain enemy, and then you go out in the world and you kill this enemy, and that's where the action RPG comes into it, and you got to get certain drops. So that's kind of like the Diablo feel, where you're grinding for certain gear or certain drops, and then you go back to your castle and you build that, and then rinse and repeat. The survival aspect added in there. There's a cool day and night cycle, so during the day you take sun damage. But one thing I do want to point out with that, and me and Dan have talked about it, the shadows in this game are so realistic. So even though you might be on a day cycle, you can still actually go out and kind of risk versus reward this, and lurk in the shadows, and you'll actually see that based on the time of the day, the sun will be moving, so you can stand on a certain side of a tree and it'll be shadow, but then as the sun keeps moving forward, now you might be out in the sun, and the
Or
sun
like
does.
if it's morning, the shadows are very long. And
Mhm.
if it's like mid-afternoon, the shadows are kind of shorter, more around the tree. And so, yeah, you kind of have to like plan and strategize your placement kind of around that. You can definitely do a lot of stuff during the day, but it's a lot more riskier. And those like boss encounters or hard engagements, you're
Those
definitely
suck.
not going to want to like
Yeah.
attempt during the day while you're like trying to like stand and kite things like in the shadows and stuff. And so it definitely adds like a little another aspect to it. It fits in with the lore, which is nice. Like I always like kind of those things that are build gameplay concepts around their lore, just as long as they're not kind of annoying or like petty or stuff like that. And I think it does a good enough job to where it's like a factor, but it's not like the worst thing in the world. And like the day and night cycles are like short enough to where you could just like farm materials or do some other things. And then like during the night, plan out a bunch of your attacks.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of the times I will time it out so I'm traveling on my way to a boss encounter during the
Mm-hmm.
day. That way, when it just turns dusk and going into night, then I fight the boss. Because, dude, I've been caught mid, it turns to morning and I'm in the boss fight and I'm like, son of a bitch, this sucks. And you die. And uh, the survival of the game, there's 3 different servers you can choose from. Or server types, not servers. There's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of servers, but server types. So you have PvE, which if you die, you don't drop anything. You can go back, you can get your loot. The only way you can lose stuff in this is you have to feed your castle's fountain with blood that you recover. And based on how much blood is in there is how long your castle goes without decaying. But once it gets to fully decayed, then enemy, or I'm not going to say enemy, but other players can go into your castle and actually destroy it and get all your loot. So that's a survival aspect of it in PvE. Then you go into PvP. Any player can attack you. You drop your entire inventory, but whatever you're wearing, you keep that stuff on you. And then there's full loot PvP. Just drop everything. So you get mollywopped, you lose everything. So it's super unique. I'm in love with this shit. Like Dan's never really played a survival game.
No, and I usually stay away from survival games. I mean, I didn't like Breath of the Wild because of its survival aspects. And I agree that it's probably one of the best games of the generation or maybe of all time. But it's one of those games that is so hard to get past their survival mechanics for me that like I have a hard time enjoying some of those things. And
I agree 100%, man. That
kind of
the
like any
weapon.
genre that like as long as it's done well enough, I can get into it. But it's not most of that genre isn't my cup of tea. And so you've kind of like noticed like, oh, I didn't think you'd really like that kind of genre. And it's like, well, if it's a good enough game, I'll get into it. And as long as it doesn't lean super heavy into some of those mechanics. And when I feel V Rising, what appealed to me was it was light enough in the survival mechanics where it wasn't like Valheim or it wasn't like um I don't like an Escape from Tarkov or like some of the other like survival games where it's like, yep, you die, you lose everything, game over, wipe. Um, so that part of it, I was like, okay, I think I can get into like some of these things or at least tolerate some of the survival mechanics and stuff like that. And I do think it does like a pretty good job of like balancing that and balancing the other type of genres that it's like mixed in. And like the combat's fun, but what's got me hooked is the base building.
Hmm.
I mean, it's scratching an itch like of Age of Empires or Civilization. And it's more like Age of Empires, like actual gameplay wise, where like real time you're building different things and you're trying to get all these things like producing stuff at the same time to keep building more and more stuff. But it it hits me like Civilization, where you can spend 5 hours doing that, and it goes by super fast. Like the first night you and I played, we're like, dude, it's 1 o'clock. Like I gotta work
Yeah.
tomorrow. I gotta be
Yeah,
up in 4 hours.
I think that's what's got me hooked too, is the crafting. It reminds me of the time back when I first started playing Minecraft, and all of a sudden it's like 2 or 3 in the morning. You're like, dude, I just paid for 6 hours straight. You're like, holy shit. What I was gonna say about Breath of the Wild is I hated the mechanics in that game. Unpopular opinion here, but yeah, I think we both have an unpopular opinion with that game. There's, the cooking and this and that didn't bug me, but the weapon breaking, that's what set me over the edge. I beat the game, I played like 50 hours of it, but I'll never pick it up again because that shit just annoyed me so much. But yeah, like
Which
you
sucks
said,
because I really wanted to like it. I wanted to like it so much, and I watch it, and it's beautiful what they were able to do. Like the game design, everything else is the like world design, map design, the graphics, the art style, what they were able performance wise able to do on the Switch, absolutely incredible.
yeah,
And it's like that one aspect. I'm just
just
like,
ruined it for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael, my brother, like got past where I did, and he was playing it, and I was watching him. And I think once I get you get past a couple of those like transition periods, it gets a little bit better, and the weapon mechanics aren't so bad because you have enough weapons that you can like cycle through. But I got kind of stuck at this stage where, I mean, I'm already not an open world fan by any means, so I only play like the best of the best open world games. And I got to a point where it kind of like pinched me, and I was like, I only had 1 or 2 decent weapons, and I get into an area, and I went through those 2 or 3 decent weapons real fast, and I was like, okay, now I'm using sticks against these enemies, and I need more. I was like, this isn't fun. This isn't what I want. I don't want to keep having to get the same, 5 copies of the same weapon just to get through an area. And I think if you kind of power through that, it gets a little bit easier and a lot better. Still a little bit annoying, but not as bad. Not as like game stopping as kind of where I was. I think I either just needed to go to a different area or kind of power through. But great game, but just like that mechanic wasn't for
Just
me.
ruined it for you. So since you are new to the survival genre, I guess what's your opinion on
There's
like
definitely some
your
annoying
fun
things
factor for
about
V
V
Rising?
Rising. Like there's some annoying things. There's some things that are tough. Funny enough, like I guess like it is pretty like this is part of a lot of survival games. The just no info or no help or no guidance really fucked me over and got me like really frustrated. Where they kind of start you off in a decent spot with like a couple of quests that are easy enough to follow to get you like acclimated to the game, but then it's like, okay, go build your castle, and you're like, all right, easy enough. Drag it on the screen. You're like, where? Everything's red. Where am I going? And I went, you venture out, and I'm going along the roads in different spots, and I clear out a whole section and try and put it down. Nothing's working. I'm like, dude, this is stupid. And the funny thing is I started off on a PvP server because I was like, oh, this is like the way you should like play survival games and like have some fun. And then you got on and you're like, dude, no, we're not doing PvP. And it was like, oh, it's not that bad. And then the next 20 minutes, I got
Just
killed
getting your ass
repeatedly and
kicked.
farmed and whooped and killed by everything. And it's like, oh, okay, I'm just trying to build an effing castle and I can't because they're killing me. Other things are killing me. I'm just dying repeatedly and losing all the things that I've spent like crafting wise. I was like, yep, starting over, making a new character. Way better experience, but I had to YouTube how to build a castle. It's like a simple enough mechanic, and you're only going to do it a couple times per game because you can only have like 2 castles at least to start.
Just start, yeah.
So it's not like something that you're going to be doing over and over and over again. So at least they could have just told you how to build it or where you can. There's only certain spots that you can build one, and that was the frustrating part for me. And honestly, if like you hadn't been playing or if I hadn't looked it up, I probably would have quit the game right there. It would have been like frustrating enough for me to just be like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that, I mean, I want to put out there, the game has early access. So they're going to take criticism and run with it and fix their game in certain aspects. But overall, the game is extremely polished, in my opinion. That was
For early access, yeah.
that was the only thing that bugged me, is when you're going to build your castle, they do not tell you where to go. There's a certain mechanic on where you can build your castle. They don't mention that. They just say go build it there, or go build it. And I didn't think it was gonna be overcomplicated, but
right. And I think the other crappy part about it is you can't level up past that point.
Mm-hmm.
You're stuck at that level. You can't get other gear. You can't craft like the new gear or upgrade anything else. You are stuck at like level 9 of 10 until you beat that like quest part. And everything goes off gear score, and you need your castle to get the next best gear.
Yeah.
And so I got stuck there, and it's like, okay, I literally you can't do anything. It's not like, oh, you can keep farming materials and upgrading items and leveling up until you figure out where to build your castle. No, you just can't. You can't progress the game at all. It's like a hard kind of stop point until you figure out how to build that castle, which was just frustrating. But once you did that, the castle building, I didn't think that was going to be the part of the game that got me hooked. I've been watching reviews, and it looked like the combat, like watching the combat, I was like, ooh, this looks fun. It reminded me of Diablo, but a lot of it kind of reminded me of League of Legends, but like in a more open world PvE kind of a deal. And I'm like, I'm down for this. This looks sweet. And it doesn't really play like League of Legends, but it does reminisce a little bit, the abilities kind of, but it is a lot more like Diablo, where you're kind of top down and you're moving your character and stuff like that. And so
the action of it. So I'm a lot farther than you in the game. The action of it does start to progress a lot. So in the beginning, you only have you have 2 spells and then 1 attack. But eventually you start getting 2 weapon attacks, and then you get 2 spells, and then you also have an ultimate too. So as the game progresses, it does start to get a lot more involved, and you can actually you're not going to like do rotations like an MMO or anything. But you are going to have enough attacks that you can change in and out. I think there's 5 different types of magic. What's the word I'm thinking of? Like classes.
Abilities or weapon. Okay.
Classes that you can use. They have like Unholy, Frost, Blood. So you can mix and match and really try out different things. Like there were certain bosses that I went to fight, and the spells I was using didn't work, or they didn't work. So then I switched out and I did good. Chaos is another one, and they're a lot of fun. Also, you have your dodge ability too. So your dodge ability or your sprint ability, you essentially dash across an area. You have a little invisible, or not invisible, but a clone of you that the enemies will attack, and based on what.
For like a second or two, it's like kind of brief.
Yeah, it's like a 2-second thing.
It's enough to like have them target a couple attacks, and get around a big like targeting attack where you can see them kind of winding up and stuff.
But the whole point of it is based on what ability you use, what class you're in, it changes. So like the original one you start out with, you heal yourself, and then there's one that you can multiple dodge, and then those shadows explode. And then there's ones that like summon stuff. So yeah, there's a lot involved.
What's funny about that is I'm like almost level 30. And I don't have any of that.
Yeah.
I don't have my ultimate yet. There's like so much I haven't unlocked yet.
It's a very intricate game,
but
it's very intricate. There's a lot.
Kind of like it slowly kind of builds towards a lot of this stuff, right? And I only have I can switch out one other attack ability into my rotation, and so like I don't have a lot, but I'm like 10 hours into the game, level 30, you'd think you'd have all of your rotation at least like one, and you'd be swapping out, and it's like nope, not yet.
Yeah. It's you unlock stuff when you kill bosses in the game, so you can't kill bosses until you have certain gear score. And so it's just I think that's the thing that really has me hooked on this game, man. You craft for a bit, and then it's like, okay, go kill the boss, and you go kill the boss, and you come back, and then you can craft new armor, and then it's like, oh, by the way, you can upgrade your castle. Oh, cool, now you can build a new floor that actually boosts how you can craft, and then it's just this never ending cycle. So I haven't been bored because I'm always doing something different and I'm always
Right.
chasing
It does
something.
do
I'm
a very
always
good job of
chasing
that.
something. It's like, hey, you can unlock iron smithing. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I start doing that kind of progression to get there. And then I realize it's a really long progression, but now that's my next goal. So
Right.
it's
I feel
very
it definitely
addictive.
has some like plateaus where you'll be going up and then you're oh, I'm kind of stuck.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get past that next plateau, the game just takes off again, and you could be like completely engaged for like 2 hours before you even like start to like hit another plateau where you're just like gathering materials, but putting them in, refining them, but starting to build other things, and the more and more you go, the more and more like you have to do in between kind of some of these like plateaus or kind of boss fights. But you can also break all that up with boss fights, with
Mm-hmm.
hunting things, with some combat stuff, and the bosses give you a bunch of materials. And so if gathering materials isn't your game, you can just keep hunting the same bosses over and over again to get those materials you need if your combat's more of your kind of style.
Right.
But
And
it's
everything's
really
breakable in the
interesting.
game too, so it's really cool. You'll be fighting bosses, and they'll be destroying the area around you. You'll see a
Yeah.
bunch of stones drop, a bunch of wood drop, kind of like Dan was saying. They just destroy the area around them. So all of a sudden you'll get done with the fight and you're like, holy shit, there's, like 300 lumber here and
Yeah,
stone
the
here or
iron one was a
whatever.
great example because we left there with like 1,000
Oh, it's
or
copper.
1,500
Copper.
copper. Yeah,
Yep.
copper, and we're like, dude, I can't even carry all this
Yeah.
copper.
Yeah, we had to,
Mm.
I had to carry a bunch of the copper for Dan because it was just, yeah. Survival game, you only have a limited inventory. But,
The
yeah.
other like downside is that if we're playing together in a clan, and you have to be in a clan to play together, at least that's what we understand of it so far. But all the loot is like shared, so either you get it or I get it. Like it doesn't split it, or we don't get the same ones, and so we're kind of competing a little bit for the same loot, which is fine if like your buddy's coming over to run you through a bunch of stuff. But if you're like trying to progress together, it stinks a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not bad. They just could have done it better. I mean, you look at all the different things. Even like early World of Warcraft, they had a dungeon mechanic for loot sharing.
Right.
Even vanilla. So it could have been as simple as alternating, or even fuck if the same loot dropped but shared. That might have turned into a farming issue where people just like ran the map over with a clan of 4 or whatever. But I don't know, that is a downfall. It's kind of annoying right now. It's not a big deal because I've progressed more than you, so like I don't need what
Right.
you need and whatever. But
Yeah, but if we were fighting for the same
it would
resource,
be annoying.
we'd basically have to do like double or triple, or especially with when we're trying to farm specific loot drops that only fall from certain enemies, and we're just farming the same things over and over again. We both need the same resource. We're like, all right, you get this one. All right, I'll take this one, and then we're basically doing it twice as long as we'd need to. It kind of like you're at a disadvantage of doing it co-op.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what like they intend to not make co-op like super powerful, and still like have solo play be kind of rewarding where you're getting more of the loot stuff. I don't know exactly, but it does kind of stink when you do have a buddy or a clan member and you're like going through doing stuff.
Yeah, I'm just
Doing
wondering
that.
because you can do up to 4 people co-op. So now if you get 4 people in there, like,
Yeah, you'd be fighting over a lot of resources.
yeah, but you don't really need to be co-op to grind. So maybe they're like, hey, do co-op to kill bosses.
Right.
Go
Yep.
grind on your own time, and that could be a forceful intention, like you were just saying. Yeah, no,
Kind of just like keep the solo player still kind of happy.
mhm.
And not it kind of the opposite of Destiny, where Destiny, a lot of the activities you're like you need a party to do this activity. Maybe that's their kind of way of balancing that.
And it is a balancing act with any new game. You're gonna have bitches and gripes. If co-op was super overpowered, they'd be like, well, I can't play this game solo, and now we're
Yeah, and I mean, and now if either of us weren't playing the game, you'd be in love with it and you wouldn't have a problem at all.
Right.
Right. And you wouldn't be like, oh, these co-op people are just running through, taking over the server. You'd still feel like very powerful and feel like you're getting rewarded as a solo player. And so maybe that kind of is their at least initial intention. Now it's in still early access, so they could patch it or buff it or kind of make some changes to that kind of play. But it's definitely something I could live with, but it was a little kind of annoying with us playing together.
Right. Yeah. One thing I do want to point out about the game, servers are only 40 people, which I think is really cool, and the co-op is only max 4 people. So there's a lot of servers, but they're small, and I really like that because I'll actually in the chat, I've played not a lot more than you, but a decent amount more to see the world chats and all that, and you see the same people, man. And like I've even been running next to my neighbor, right? So the dude that lives in a castle next to me, and we'll like wave to each other and shit. And it's actually really cool that they kept it small like that, because that would never really happen in a MMORPG.
Right, you get to know the same people, That is actually really cool. You can like see the same people chatting, and then you kind of get to know them a little bit, or their style of talking. And
who's the best on the server, man?
Chime in. You're
Dracula's the best on the server, just so you know. His name's Dracula.
You can be a big fish in a little pond, and that can be a lot of fun. I mean, versus getting lost in just a sea of people on any server and never getting to know anybody individually.
Yeah. No, it is really cool. It's unique. It's very unique.
Yep. And especially with like survival and like you building your base next to somebody else, and like the map is big but not too big, and it's really built for those 40 people, right? And so you're kind of building next to different people or figuring out where kind of other people are at, and you can see the same people, like, hey, that guy like lives right next to me, and you can hop in chat and talk to him,
or you're waiting for them not to log in so you can destroy their base, like I've done to 2 of the people around me.
Exactly.
Yeah, 2 of my neighbors died, or they didn't log in. But that'll happen. So yeah, the game's only $20 in early access right now. I bought
$20, like you can't beat it.
Yeah.
It's a great game for one of the, like, as far as $20 launches, incredible. I've never played a $20 game like that well polished, that well playing through. Like, it doesn't have the everything like set in stone like a $60 release would. Like you'd expect, like Diablo, if you were playing Diablo and it had some of these little bit of issues or annoyances, you'd be like, this isn't right. They're charging $60 for this whole game, but for $20, it's in early access. It's a ton of fun. Just a ton of fun. That the base build, I didn't even think like about I thought the base building was going to be more annoying when the like reviewers I was watching was talking about like, oh, you build your castle and stuff, and you're like, I don't care about that. I want to do some like combat, some cool stuff, and then you get into, you're like, oh no, this is fun.
I was laughing at you, man. You're like, Dan was getting frustrated the other night on it, and he's talking. I'm like, dude, you're literally fucking describing like you want to play a different game. Like, if you want the action to be super crisp, go play a fucking different game. But then he finally got to the base building where it was actually very interactive and a lot more options.
I just shut up and played for like 40 minutes straight without.
He didn't even say a word, and then I got off at 2 a.m, and I'm like, all right, dude, see you later. I'm like, you staying on? And you're like, yeah. I'm like, I'm having a blast with this. So yeah. If you got the expectations of going in, knowing that's early access, knowing that's $20, knowing that's a survival game, you're gonna die. There's gonna be annoyances like that. But once you get into the meat and potatoes of this game, it is phenomenal, and it is getting very popular. So, which I'm excited about. Like, I love supporting developers like this. I bought the DLC just to support the developers. It's just a bunch of cosmetic bullshit, but in the base building game, it actually is relevant because I get, 10 extra types of statues I can craft, or this or that, or cosmetics for my vampire in general. But super excited for the developers, since I've been following them personally. Like, Dan is just jumping in, but I'm invested at this point and addicted, unfortunately. Put all my other games on the wayside.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it definitely took everything by storm. I think they tweeted that they've had 500,000 people buy it and log in and play, unique players. And so like that's
huge.
Pretty impressive for an early access game. Only on PC. They're not launching on a bunch of different platforms yet. Hopefully I think they kind of will, and hopefully they add some like controller support, because I think it wouldn't be that hard to add controller support. There's not that many like button inputs that you'd need to put in.
I think it'd be hard. That'd be a good Steam Deck game.
You may have to alter your like keyboard configuration, your like, what do they call it? Not shortcuts, but key bindings. You may have to alter your key bindings to like get the game working well the way you want to play. I was telling him, like, oh, I'm annoyed by this, and he's like, dude, I changed it immediately. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't really change my key bindings. Like,
he's like, I wish E was interact, not F. I'm like, dude, fucking change it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the default key bindings like aren't great, and I feel like they're not bad, and you can change them, but they're not like they're not like intuitive where you'd think like when you're in combat in the heat of the moment trying to hit things, I'm all over the place. I'm trying to hit C, and I'm hitting V and B, and then E's your other, like E and C are your abilities, and Q is like a weapon attack, and then you need to hit Shift and Control all the time, and it's like,
so here's the deal.
None of this makes any sense.
Dan has never played a MMO where this is the norm, and he's refusing to change his keybind. So
I've played MMOs. Okay,
no,
but
you have not played MMOs. You played World of Warcraft for like 2 fucking minutes.
I played Star Wars.
Yeah, for like 2 minutes.
The Old Republic.
For like 2 minutes. Anyways,
I can play Call of Duty Warzone, which uses over half the keyboard and buttons, and I can slide cancel and do all these crazy combos and everything, but all the key bindings make sense in that game. They should be where they are. The buttons you use the most are the ones that are closest to your fingers, and then the ones you use a little bit less are the ones that are on the next level, and the ones you use the very least are much farther out. And so when you're in the heat of combat, you don't have to think. Everything you need in the heat of combat is right there around you, and then it's the things that you interact with like outside of that are a little bit farther out. In this game, it's not like that at all. It's like opposite of a lot of those different things. And so it definitely either like takes some getting used to, or you having to like reset up your key bindings, but it can be a little difficult when like you haven't figured out what the game is or how the combat kind of flows right away, unless you've played a lot of these other games that are like it. That's my kind of point to it. Yes, you could easily keybind it. You can keybind anything to like how you want to play, but a lot of people don't want to go through the hassle of re-keybinding the whole freaking game.
So here's the deal. I'm going to interrupt you here. I changed one keybind. There's nothing that needs to be changed on this game for it to be interactive. Dan is a fucking pleb.
You could probably just Dan do like 2 keybinds, and it would be a lot better.
I changed interact from F to E, and that was it. So,
I think you could switch Control and Shift as well.
Well, then do it.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
End of the story. On to Uncharted.
And you do that, and you'd probably be in a pretty good spot. But if it's early access, note to the developers, hopefully they're watching. They won't be watching. But if they just changed those 2 things, it'd probably be in a lot better spot. And maybe get rid of C, because I do not like using that.
I use C. C is always my first.
C's crouch. You can't crouch in this game.
In any MMO that I played, C is always my opener.
Never use C.
Yeah. Well, you don't play MMOs. So, anyways, on to Uncharted. I totally missed this launch. Dan totally missed it too. So I am a huge Uncharted fan. Uncharted is a video game series. For those of you who don't know, it's very action oriented.
Never played it.
Lots of cutscenes.
People when it came out, I do remember like following it, but I've never played it. And people, and myself included, were under the impression it's basically kind of like a movie that you're playing, because the cutscenes were so heavy, but they, like over the top cutscenes, gorgeous, beautiful kind of stuff.
A lot of interactive key hits.
It was like, dude, this is a ride. This is an experience that you'd go through like with a movie, just longer, that you're interacting with. Is kind of the impressions and what Uncharted was trying to do. I'm going to
stop you there. yes, there is a lot of cutscenes, but it is not the whole game. It's not like a point and click. Not like that at all.
Yeah, no, not
there's
kind of like
hours
that,
of gameplay before you get into a cutscene. It's not like
yeah,
it's not a constant cutscene.
Okay, that's kind of fair. But like what I was kind of getting at is like the point of the game was to kind of take you on a ride like a movie would.
Yes, like
and
people have watched it. Watch all
Yeah.
the cutscenes and we'll say, yeah, this is pretty much a movie.
Right. The story, I think, like the gameplay is like good or fine or decent.
That's
I
amazing.
I can't like
Amazing.
Gameplay is good, but like the
Amazing.
story is so much better that you could just watch it and just be like, yeah, great game.
Yeah.
Not even play it. Just watch the cutscenes and be like, dude, incredible game.
Yeah.
And so I think it translates well to a movie, or people were kind of like waiting for it to get like put into a movie. It was basically kind of like a movie script that they adapted into a game almost, or wrote the script that way. I feel like, versus kind of other games, with like in mind like these big set pieces and big action kind of cutscenes that kind of play out. They kind of wrote it with that in mind.
Yeah, I love the gameplay. The story was phenomenal in the Uncharted series. The gameplay, I had a blast, and it was probably one of my most played online games, actually, is Uncharted 2. A third person over the shoulder with climbing mechanics. It was phenomenal, man. You could be like sneaking around the map, just popping in and out, pulling people off ledges. I got really into that game in college. So super excited about the movie, and like you just said, it transitions right into a blockbuster. And the reason I wanted to talk about this, me and Heather loved the movie. 10 out of 10 for both of us. She doesn't even know, it was a video game series until I told her. 10 out of 10, man. Like, hands down, I was along for this ride. After I looked at the reviews after watching the movie, it was low. Like, dude, Rotten Tomatoes, all the shit I don't really care about. I look for curiosity. The user reviews were a 4.5 out of 5. But then you look at all like the critics and they just trashed it. And I don't know why, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. I don't know if it's the over the topness of the movie, but that's how the games were. It's over the top shit. So I don't get why it scored so low. And so since you've watched it without playing the games, I just wanted to get your opinion on what you thought.
Yeah, I think it definitely, like, I mean, it watches well, and like you're just kind of like put in there and you're on a ride from start to finish, and there's not really too many like lulls or anything like about it. You're like, once it kind of starts, it kind of just like keeps going up. Action packed, it's fun, the characters are great. There may be, it's one of those things where it's like, depending on how you look at some of the stuff, you could have like a different outlook on it. Some of the jokes I thought were hilarious, but some people might have thought like, oh, it's kind of like forced or shoehorned in, or doesn't feel super organic like to the show, because I think the pace is really fast of the movie. But I think that's kind of one of its strong suits is if you go in with like no expectations, although some people might have high expectations with the cast, like you put Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg on a movie, you're like, dude, movie's great. I don't even care what it is. You put those two in it, yeah, I'm gonna go see it, right? And so I think that's one of its like alluring points. And so if you're going in to like watch those two do like amazing things, I think they're both good, but their character development happens very fast. The pace of the movie's very fast. And if you're expecting more like of a deeper kind of connection to things, or have the characters be flushed out like a lot more for you to really kind of like figure them out, it might not be. You kind of like figure things out along the way as it's just like blowing through different things, which I mean, I thought it was fun. I thought it was a great ride. I haven't finished the entire thing. I'm like kind of right at the end. My wife watched it and she thought it was okay, but
Get her out here. See you. Bye, man.
She's not one to like. We have different like movie watching tastes. Okay. I generally like most things, and she has like very specific tastes.
Okay.
And I don't think she's a big like action fan, kind of in general. But I thought the action was great. I thought the characters were a lot of fun. I thought it was intriguing. The mystery and it felt, it definitely felt like a almost Indiana Jones-esque, or we both thought like National Treasure, very like National Treasure kind of like feel to it, but the pace was a lot quicker. I think it probably the movie would have done better or be received better if they kind of just let things play out a little bit longer or slower just a tad, to let you connect with the characters a little bit more, because man, they moved quick. Like the pace was boom 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 boom, they're going from scene to the other scene to this next action piece. So the pace was quick, but and if you just want to sit down and enjoy an action movie, that's great for an action movie. Like, you don't want to be hung down or have a whole bunch of slow parts and stuff. You want to be taken on a ride.
Well, I think so. This is a prequel to the games. This is not.
Oh.
So in the Uncharted series, Nathan Drake is, I would say, mid-30s.
Got it.
So if you know that going into the movies, the quick,
that makes more sense.
The quick progression, they don't know each other. Like Sully, Mark Wahlberg, Sully, he is probably 60 in the Uncharted games. So this is a prequel when they truly just first met. They're not friends.
That makes a lot more sense.
The chick, I can't think of her name right now. Like there's love stuff going on in the Uncharted series with her and Nate. So yeah, this is truly just like the building block. And I mean, they left it. Well, no spoilers, but I want to
make a sequel with Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland. Are you kidding me?
Dude,
of course I want to make a sequel.
Yeah, so my favorite part of this of the movie was the banter between Mark Wahlberg and Tom Holland. Super good picks because Nathan Drake is a very witty guy. Like, dude, he just embarrasses people. Just, like with first off his action, his fighting skills, gunplay. What part are you at? Like just general. You don't no spoilers, but
I mean, like it was playing all the way through, but like I like fell asleep the first time, and then I tried to go back and watch it just before this, and didn't get like quite as far. So they just. I don't want to like spoil anything for anybody else that'd be watching, but no, I mean, it was good. Did you hear the story about like Mark Wahlberg? Because they wanted to make this movie a while ago. So they had him picked out. He was on the movie. He said, "Yep, I want to make the movie," but they didn't have like a full cast, or like they're waiting for it to kind of happen. Kind of just like is in limbo. It's like getting ready to be made. I feel like this movie's been in the like makings for like 5 years or so, and so it was originally kind of like they wanted to do it when Mark Wahlberg was at his height, right? Like he's pumping out Transformers movies, he's pumping out these other action movies and stuff, and they're like, yeah, let's get him in on Uncharted and stuff like that. And so he was supposed to be Nathan Drake.
That's funny.
And so he got the call that they're making the movie, and he goes, great, who's gonna play Sully? And they're like you because you're like, wait, what?
You're old.
Or I forget. Like, there's like it was going around in kind of TikTok or YouTube shorts, and he's like, great. Who's my like partner? Or, like, who else is like playing the movie? And they're like, Tom Holland, and he's like, he's not old enough to play Sully, and they're like, you're Sully.
Yeah, you're a little older, Mark. That's so funny. But he played it well, and I think those characters they both have huge parts in it. Even though Tom Holland is the main character, Mark Wahlberg just had as much conversation and narratives. For sure.
And funny, and he could be kind of Mark, and they let Tom Holland be Tom Holland. And
Yeah, the
like,
banter was the best. It was
yeah.
by far. I kept saying that to Heather. I'm like, man, this is so funny. Because one,
I
Tom
thought, yeah,
Holland.
I was laughing out loud.
Yeah,
And,
so was I.
some of the parts got my wife laughing, and some of the parts she's like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "I thought that was good."
Yeah, no, it was really good, and the overall the action, over the top. But guess what? The games were too. So
What was great is like perfect cast with Tom Holland because everybody says he's the real life Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Like he can, he went on stage to audition for Spider-Man. He did a backflip, came in, did some other things, and everyone's like, "Dude, like who does this?" Like
Right.
the guy is fit. He can do incredible stunts. He can do a bunch of it by himself. And so, I mean, just like what a great cast. Unfortunately, he said Uncharted was extremely hard filming on him because of all the action and everything else.
Oh,
And
really?
he actually wants to like take a break from acting
Interesting.
after finishing that movie. He said it was just like it was so all the action scenes were so demanding and they were like a lot hard. And then he did Spider-Man into that, and like they were a bunch of stuff right on top of each other. And obviously he's like just massive right now, that everybody wants him, and he's just like, guys, slow down.
Yeah, give me a couple
I need a
months
bit
off.
of a yeah. So,
Yeah, we just finished No Way Home.
you finished it, huh?
Yeah, we don't need
Dude.
to talk. We don't need to talk too much about it, but holy shit.
I mean, that's one like part of the like one of the like redeeming factors of us recording this like tonight was I was like, dude, I'm not feeling well last night. Like, can we do the podcast? The next day he goes, yeah, we're gonna watch more of No Way Home. I was like, dude, you won't even regret it missing a day at all of doing the podcast.
So good, man.
That is one incredible movie right there.
It is so hard not to talk spoilers, so I don't even want to talk about the movie, because I don't want to ruin the few people that might be watching right now.
100%. It's one of those that like I don't just go see it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to tell you anything about the movie. You just have to go see it. It's so well done. It's one of those movies that's like one in a million. The way
it was like an emotional roller coaster.
Yeah.
It was.
And the way like you just think it's one of those movies that's like it's the perfect idea, but you don't think it would ever come to light because of all the money and pieces of different studios owning this and owning that they'd all have to agree to get this thing to come together, and it did. And you're like, how did all this happen? This is crazy. It's incredible. It's a roller coaster. It's an amazing story. It really solidifies Tom Holland's spot as Spider-Man, and it makes the other two movies like comparatively to some of the other Spider-Mans, it makes them more validated, even better, and just it's so good. You have to see it. If you haven't, go buy it, go rent it.
Yeah, I rented it for
it's
like
must see.
It just took me a while because the whole kids situation. We got to kind of
For sure. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of people out there, and if you're in that boat, just go watch it. It's so good. Yeah. Tom Holland's great. It's more emotional than any of the other Spider-Mans.
Dude, it's dark, very dark.
Darker. I wouldn't say like as dark as the Amazing Spider-Man series, but way darker compared to Tom Holland's other two Spider-Mans. Like, yeah. And I loved all of that. It was way more emotionally heavy, just so good. And finally, really, like, I feel like, yep, that's Spider-Man for sure.
Yep.
And just one of the best Marvel movies ever made.
Yeah, the thing that got me, I always wait for the credits to roll and see the secret, not endings, but you know what I'm talking about. Did you watch it on this one? Credits? Did you watch it? Yeah, that got me going. So, but all right, man. Let's talk audio.
Yeah. So, I'm a pretty big like audio kind of enthusiast. I have some really nice audio headphones. I get really into audio.
Do I like
and I've been kind of pulling at Cobbs's ear for quite some time now, saying, dude, you gotta put down those Astros and pick up an audiophile grade headset. And he's been like, yeah, I'm liking the Astros though. They do the job for me.
So it's a
the
lot of
mixer's
dude.
nice.
It's a lot of money. So you gotta look at the perspective of how much money we already spend on our computers, and then it's
Very
like
true.
so.
Yep, and it can be really intimidating, and it can be like getting into the field. There's so many different headphones versus like Astros. Basically, you have like Astros or Turtle Beaches are your main gaming headsets, and there might be like one or two other brands like Artist, like they've got some good ones, and Corsair does the HyperCloud, or no, HyperCloud X's. Like the clouds are really good. And so like, for gaming brands, you've got like 4 or 5. You got to do some research. Everybody compares them together, but you're talking audiophile grade or audio things. Like there's hundreds, and they range all different kind of price brackets. And you'd think that you have to spend, like $300 to $500 to get like a decent one, and that's kind of where some of the audiophile things start, and they go all the way up to $2,000 or $3,000. But you don't even have to really look at those. Just like block those out of your mind. There are some amazing options that are cheaper than the gaming headsets. I guarantee it.
Yeah, like
All you got to do.
I spent $250 on my Astro and Mix Amp back in the day, and then the set I'm wearing right now is literally over half of that price, and they sound about 10 times better. So
Yeah, so he came over to do the podcast in person, and we filmed the Elden Ring Collector's Edition unboxing, and I wanted to do a separate video of it, but I sat him down at the end of the night. We were wrapping things up. He had to get home. I was like, dude, just listen to like 3 or 4 different pairs of headsets that I have. I have varying price ranges, and I didn't tell him any of the price ranges. And I was like, listen to this one, listen to this one, listen to this one. He's like, well, they all sound really good, but I really like this one, and I really like this one. And so both of them were the pair that I'm wearing and the pair that he's wearing right now. And so these are pretty darn nice. But these are like the cheaper budget version of like $1,500 headphones, and they have an $800 kind of version that's really similar. And then this was like a $500 version that they launched. And so this is like considered kind of budget. But if you're looking for
budget, get
the budget, right? I know it's crazy, but they are one of those experiences that I think that if you're looking for like a next level audio experience, these are it. Like the bass hits, the vocals hit, like you can hear sounds you've never heard before, and they sound insane to like you can't even like describe like what you're hearing. These are one of those kind of headphones. You can spend a lot more on headphones and not quite get that level of an experience. And so that's why I really like these. But you can get 95 or 90% of the way from here with the pair that you're wearing for 1/5 the price.
Yeah, so
these, for a lot of people,
you say these were
99. I got them on sale for $99. I think they retail for like 150, but they kind of go on sale quite often, and those are from drop.com. They partnered with Hi-Fi-Man. So what got me into audio kind of in general is drop.com, because they partner with Sennheiser, they partner with Hi-Fi-Man, they partner with a lot of these big audio companies, and they're like, hey, we'd like to make this headset. We'd like to take one of your existing designs. We're going to tweak it ever so slightly and make it in China compared to wherever you make it. So we're going to make it cheaper. You're still going to make the same amount of money that you make on a pair, and we're going to take a cut, but we're going to sell a whole bunch of them. And they do a great job. A lot of people really like them. There's a bunch of YouTubers that get reviews, but you can get a lot of headphones for like under $200 or under $250. They have a whole range of them that, where normally you're looking at like $200 to $300. Now you're looking at $100 to $200. And for the gaming side of things, that comes in cheaper than the Astros. That comes in cheaper than a lot of the Arctises or Turtle Beaches. And you're getting a music experience, and you're getting incredible gaming experience that like you can't get with those other kind of headphones.
Yeah, I think any time you're in the consumer market for gaming stuff, people label shit gaming and then upcharge it. Not to rip on, but like Blue, for instance, we're talking mics.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Dan both have Samsung, and I got mine first. I did
Samsung with an M, not Samsung.
not Samsung. Samson.
Samson. Yep.
Samson. I did a lot of research on my mic and my boom before I got this. I spent probably half the price on the boom and probably about the same on the mic, but this is a recording studio level microphone. It's not tailored for gaming. You know, they talk about using your instruments with it, and the level of audio is just better in my opinion. And that goes the same
Hands
for
down.
this goes for headphones too.
So I heard one of our buddy Casey, he's got a great mic. He's got the blue, not like the Snowball, the super cheap one, but he's got one of the really popular ones for Twitch streamers, and it's a decent quality mic, but they know that they're really popular, and they like sell you on a little bit of the name.
Blue Yeti.
And so I heard him talk, and I was like, dude, you sound great. And then Cobbs comes on after getting that after Casey did. I was like, you sound incredible. What mic do you have? And so he told me, I got the Samsung. I really like it. It's got all this great stuff. I started doing some research, and I was going to get that one, but for my use case, I have a PC that the fans are incredibly loud on, and I had problems with people saying, dude, I can hear your fans. I can hear you for the mic. And I had an Audio Technica mic. It was like a $50 kind of USB mic, and so it wasn't like terrible quality, but it wasn't like super high end, and everyone's like, dude, you got to turn it down. And so I'd have to like yell into my mic because I'd have to have the sensitivity so far down. So
oh my god, was that fans. The mic that drove me nuts?
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah, we were playing Destiny.
Yep.
And I'd either be like, because he'd be like so close up to his mic, or he'd be like way back here. I'm like, dude, can you? Yeah, I forgot about that mic. That just got me instantly angry.
So I mean, it just like stunk because I either had to choose between like people being able to hear me or like gaming PC performance. Like I couldn't have my fans. I had to have them on the most silent level, and people still would say, dude, I can hear your fans going. I'm like, bro, I don't know what you want from me. I have my mic as far away from my PC as I possibly can, but the way those microphones were designed is they pick up every sound in the room, and especially Discord is like, oh, if you're not talking, it keeps increasing the sensitivity until it picks up something, right? And it would pick up my fans, and then like everybody else would hear it. So you have a condenser mic, and I ended up having to buy I bought a dynamic mic because after the research that I did, it you have to talk really close to it because it doesn't pick up everything in the room. And so I can have my fans running full blast and have my mic right here, and people can't hear them. They can't hear the echoes. They can't hear anything else going on in my room. And it's like, it's perfect for me and exactly what I needed. And this one a little bit higher end or a little bit more expensive because it does different things than your microphone does, but it's much more comparable to the Shure M7B, which is like one of the most famous YouTube streaming podcast mics out there. This is kind of their comparable version to it, and it comes in cheaper, and it can do more. It has a USB-C input. You can plug it right into your computer. Flawless audio. It's great. One cable versus it also has an XLR input, which is the same thing as the Shure 7MB does, but you have to have, it only has a XLR input, so you have to have a whole nother audio interface. So this one actually comes in much less expensive to use because you don't have to have that XLR input to get it running.
Yeah, so the whole point of that, the marketing uptick, the marketing, taking advantage of the consumers, essentially. You got a bunch of people like, oh, this streamer uses that, this gamer uses that. When you get out of that shit and you look at like the people who do this for a living, like legitimate professional musicians or editors that are, using specific type of headphones, and you get away from the marketing schemes, you can get a lot better bang for your buck, because these $100 pair of headphones sound immaculate. I actually had to turn down my volume because of how high it cranked on my Astros, just the sound difference. So yeah, it's just kind of like an eye-opening experience for me.
Right.
Borrowing these. The only thing that I do not like about these things is I'm looking at myself in camera and I look fugly. I look like Frankenstein with these little knobber thingies here. They're pretty puffy, but
they are a little bit puffy.
I don't care. It's not like a stream or anything.
But like they cut corners a little bit, like some places, to like hit that price point and still make money. So
I'd rather have the audio. Yeah, I don't care.
But dude, once you hear it, it's so worth it. And it's not cheap quality. It's just like they're not marketing it as this like viewing experience where the Astros are kind of like, look how good I look in these Astros.
Right.
I'm wearing Astros because like you can just tell.
Yeah. These don't even have any markings on them.
No, they're just like simple, plain, but man, do they sound good. I was actually impressed with them. Like I had my eye on them at like 150, and I was like, oh, like I like HiFiMan. I like the company. I have got another pair of HiFiMans. I was like, I don't know if I want to spend 150 on those, and then they dropped it to like $100. I was like, that's 33% off. That's pretty freaking good. All right, I'll test them out. And as soon as I put them on, I was like, dude, those sound pretty darn close to these.
Actually, I liked these. I think it was those, and then these. But these cost like a third of the price of a couple other wrist headphones.
Yep.
I chose these over those. So
over the other ones. And so I had to try on. Basically, I had a couple other ones, and if we were to do a full video, I would have like showed you the whole kind of gamut of everything. But I had you try on basically Sennheiser versus HiFiMan. And Sennheiser makes some great stuff, and me and my brother, we love our Sennheisers. Their sound quality is great. Their headphones are extremely comfortable. They put like a great deal of build quality into everything. And so I had you try on the HD 660Ss that I have. I had you try on a extremely expensive pair that I got on a ridiculous sale, but are even more expensive than the ones that I have of Sennheisers, the HD 8XXs from Drop, and those they do some good stuff, but they don't sound like as nice as these, and they don't sound like as enjoyable as the ones that you have on. And one of the big problems is with any kind of headphone is how well does it seal around your ear? And if it's not sealing, or if you've got like the Bluetooth earbuds and you're like, oh, there's just no bass, well, you have to look at like how well it seals your ear, because bass is all about like putting pressure on your eardrums. And so if you don't have a good seal, or if there's like really big gaps in it, like you can fit like two fingers, you're probably not going to experience like a lot of bass, or you're not going to like hear that end. And so if you push them in and kind of clamp in like this, you're like, oh yeah, that gets a lot better. It's just you're not getting a good seal on things. Right. And so the Sennheiser HD-Xs, like they're incredible build quality, incredible sound, but they don't fit on. They really don't seal on your head at all.
No,
they don't seal on my head. Great.
They sounded good. They did sound good, but the uncomfortableness drove me. I would not be able to use those, unfortunately.
Yep.
I mean, and that's why I like these. I mean, these sit good. They're closed back though, so you get that little suction. And those are open back, right? The ones you got on right now.
All the other ones that I had you try on were open back, except for the ones that you have right now. But the ones I should have had you trying after you left, I was like, I'm retarded. HiFiMan makes a pair of open backs that are really similar to the ones you got on.
Okay.
And they're like, they go for around 180, and you can get them on sale for about 140. And these are really nice too. And I was like, dude, I should have had him try these on, because the open backness, like it gives you kind of like more of a sound stage, what people call, and you can hear things in depth a lot easier. You're like, oh wow, that's coming from over there, or oh, I can hear that from here. Versus closed backs, like you kind of hear everything, and like you really get it with like Bluetooth in your headphones. Everything, all your sound is in here.
Yeah,
You're
there's
hearing it in your
no
ears, in your head. There's no soundscape of oh, that music's coming from over here, or oh, you hear an orchestra and you can hear it kind of in this big space kind of a deal. And open backs like these and these like do that. Now, the headphones you have on are probably some of the best ones that I've heard for closed
yeah,
backs
they
that still
sound
give you
great.
that sense of
Hmm.
that. And I was really impressed with that. And that's sound stage, the openness and the feeling of depth is one of the things that I really, really enjoy about like a nice pair of headphones. And so for $100, I was insanely impressed with those headphones that you have on.
That's
They
right. I
do
got them for
an
zero
incredible job.
free. So I'm all going, it's good. They're mine. Well, yeah,
I
it's
mean, I
yeah,
don't need them because I've got way too many pairs, but
no,
I really like just like experiencing different like sounds of, hey, what can these do? What does this like sound like and everything? The technology behind everything. So these actually, what was like got me interested is
bless you.
they use a like they use magnets on either side of this really thin diaphragm, and they use the magnetism to vibrate the diaphragm to create the sound. And so it's very precise, and it can stop and start very quickly because it's using the like electricity and magnets to create the sound. Whereas most headphones are a dynamic driver, and it's just one big kind of cone that it kind of just like pulls back and kind of slaps to like vibrate and make the noise. But it can you can hear a lot of the time you can hear the notes carry into another note because it's still
Still
vibrating or
moving.
finishing
Yeah,
the previous like note or sound. Where something like this, because it uses magnets, it can put
turn on and
a
off.
opposing force to it and stop it
Right.
dead center and then start up again. And so you can hear really great detail, really great separation. And once you put like a pair of these on, you're like, oh, I can hear a difference. And so that's kind of what got me interested is different technologies of everything. And then you kind of just go down a rabbit hole, and you definitely don't need to go down a rabbit hole, but you can get a really great level of audio experience for really cheap. And that's kind of like the point of our conversation kind of here.
Yeah, I'm super happy
And
with them.
especially compared to your Astros. And like, yeah, like when I kind of set you down, I think everything was better than the Astros.
Mm-hmm.
But
Easily.
there's a couple standouts. I mean, the Hyphen, they got a great sound, and the you can kind of tune every headphone to get a better sound or a sound that you prefer more. But a lot of people just like the headphone to be the tuning kind of device, and so you can get like an amplifier or a DAC that has like some dials that'll you can turn up the bass or turn down the bass or turn up the treble. And so for different either styles of music, you can adapt your headphones to that sound. You can also do that in software with a lot of different things. And that can kind of make it more enjoyable because I think that's one of the reasons you like the Sennheisers didn't sound that great to you comparatively is because they're kind of engineered for a more neutral sound. Like if you were doing a recording and you want to hear exactly what the person is saying, that's what those are for. Or if you're
Yeah.
playing like an instrument, you want to hear exactly what's happening, and so that when you put that out to market, everybody else is getting the same level of stuff. Where Hyphen, they want to have a great quality sound, but they want to make it sound a little bit more exciting, a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
enjoyable. So they turn up the bass a little bit, and they turn up the vocals a little bit, and so you get a different sound signature is kind of what they call them. And that's kind of what the difference is between a lot of different headphones are, as they tune them to a specific sound.
Yeah, which I never really thought about until I put them on.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, once you hear it, and then you kind of like do the research of, hey, why do they sound like this, or you kind of go down that rabbit hole of figuring all that kind of stuff out, and it goes way deeper, way deeper than that with each one. But um, and it's a fun hobby. It's really enjoyable.
Expensive hobby.
It can be, yeah, but
for you,
a lot of
man.
them hold their value like
Right.
quite a bit, and so you can sell them for like the majority of what you kind of paid for
Yeah.
them, and the sound doesn't change for 10 years, and so like you get that kind of level of experience, and you're going to be able to enjoy that for years and years and years to come. So it is an investment. I'm definitely done now. I'm not buying any more for quite a long time, but it's fun and it's really great for gaming because you can just get some crazy experiences, and a lot of these things do positional audio really well, so you can be like, there's gunshots over there, I can hear it. Like there's been a couple times, like it's funny that Destiny does positional audio really well because the maps are usually so small and there's so much noise that it like you can't hear the like where different gunshots are coming from or footsteps, like you would in Call of Duty or what you'd want in Call of Duty. But if you're in the tower and you're in your little bank and doing different stuff and moving, and if you're by one of the NPCs, they kind of just spout off random things. And so there's one day I'm sitting in there, I'm doing some stuff, I'm in my character organizing things, and all of a sudden I hear Shax go, "Guardian, it's so good to see you." And I'm like, dude, who's behind me right now? Like, there's gotta be somebody over there. And then I was like, dude, oh my gosh, it's in the game.
That's funny.
Like, I could have sworn there like was somebody back and to my left, and then I turned my character around, and that's exactly where
Oh,
like
yeah.
the
That's
NPC
cool.
was.
That's
And
really
you're
cool.
like, holy crap.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah, I
awesome.
love positional audio. Just if a game does it right, it's super cool,
For sure.
especially in horror games. But, so cool, man. Well, yeah, that's really all I got. I'm starting to get tired. If you haven't noticed, I'm yawning my head off. So
You got me talking about audio. I'm wired. I'm good to
Right,
go.
right.
I'll keep going.
I'm not.
Okay, guys. Raleigh's gonna keep
Yeah.
talking to you. Talk your ear off. I'm going to bed. See you
Right.
guys later.
Yeah, good night. Just tell me when to shut it off. Shut off the recording. So cool. Well, number 20. Super excited. Can't believe we 20 doesn't seem big, but it really is if you think about it. So for those of you who've stayed with us, appreciate it. Hope you guys can like the video, subscribe if you're new. Any support's very supportive. You don't realize how much that actually helps. One
Yeah,
like
we love it.
pushes
We love the
video up.
comments. We love answering the comments. We love talking about. You got questions about audio? Hit us up in the
Well, no,
comments.
hit Dan up, not me. I don't know. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I mean, it was just fun to see like what your experience was coming from kind of no background in audio and just listening to different headphones and price categories and what they sounded like. And it can be a little hard to when you have so many different headsets that are really high value of like, oh, I like this one a little bit better. Oh, I like this one a little bit better. But if you compare them back to like Astros or cheaper stuff, you're
That's
like,
insane.
oh wow, any of these would have been like absolutely incredible. But
Yeah, no, definitely.
yeah, so hit us up, ask us questions, ask him about like, hey, coming from a guy who knows nothing about audio, what do you think about these, or some different things, or what specs we're running on our computer, what we've done for this. We'd love to answer all your questions.
Yeah, I actually just had someone reach out on my OBS recording video about what graphics card I was running, so it's pretty cool, like getting interactive. And like I said, it's just crazy being on our 20th podcast. We're starting to creep up in subscribers, getting people a little more interactive. Our views are getting bigger. So yeah, if you've been watching, keep it up, please. It's been a ride. I'm excited to see what the future
thank you so much. We love looking at the statistics of each week and all of our friends and new people watching our views and all the support. It's awesome, and we like to see everything and just keep it going. And yeah, I mean, ask us about anything, and we answer every single comment in the YouTube comments. So hit us up.
Oh yeah. Well, what do you got for him, Dan?
I got the little stay nerdy.